Hey Facebook, how's it going? I'm gonna grab a chair. I'm gonna try and be a little stealthy as just got all the whippersnappers down and I don't want anybody to come sneaking out again. So, and now the cat's gonna come because the cat always helps me during my live videos and I can't really see right now. The lighting is kind of crazy in here right now. I don't know what it looks like on your guys' end, but hopefully you can see it okay. I'm gonna pull it up here so I can see comments if there are any. But the other day I posted my little Denny's teaser about why that's important to me. And for those of you who weren't sure, some of you ended up guessing correctly, and that is actually where I met Joey, my husband. So Denny's has a special place in our heart, and so I thought I would come on real fast and tell you that story because it's kind of cool. So let me see how things are looking here and make sure that everything looks good. Okay, so I can see comments this way, which makes it a little bit easier. It's just a delay, so let me pull it open. Come on, click. Okay, there we go. Now I can see. All right. So at any point, if you have questions or anything, let me know and I'll try and add that in. I actually kind of embarrassingly had to ask Joey tonight like when this story started because I couldn't remember that part. Like we actually have like a 2-part story and like the really important part, like I remember when that started, but like the really beginning, I was like, what month was that in? And so he didn't hold it against me though, so that's good. All right. So here's where it starts. So we met, okay, back in 2009. As some of you, most of you know, I am also a high school English teacher or drama teacher and dance teacher, depending on what school I was at the time. And we also know that teachers don't make any money. So oftentimes during summers or breaks or just on weekends and nights, I would also wait tables at restaurants to earn extra money. And so I've worked at a bunch of different places. I've worked at Denny's, I've worked at Applebee's, I've worked at, those my only restaurants really? Those might be my only restaurant, like official restaurants that I worked at. But I've had a lot of random jobs, by the way. And so I was working at Denny's in Tempe, the one on Broadway and gosh, like between like Mill and like 52nd Street, somewhere around there, right? And I worked graveyard shift actually. And so, because I think this was summer, so I don't think I was teaching at the time. And that's what we decided. And I didn't know this at the time, but Joey worked like the early morning shift, like the shift that started at like 6:30 or 7, right? And so I usually worked from like 10 to, I don't remember, like 5 or something like that. And I would usually work, it was just like usually me and a cook, like by the time everybody else left. And so it was really kind of cool because like you just kind of ran the whole restaurant. And because like Denny's is open 24 hours, I don't know if you guys know, like it's different than other, I've worked at Chili's too. I was like, I knew there was another restaurant. Like it's different because like, like normally like when you like work a closing shift, there's like all this side work and you do all this stuff and then everybody leaves. Well, it's different when the store is open all the time. You just kind of keep working. And I really loved just having like the place to myself at night. It was really cool. And so I did that, and there was only one day that I stayed late because like the early morning person was gonna, I don't know, like be late or something. Again, this is 2009, guys. I don't remember. And Joey came in early. And if anybody knows my husband, you guys know that he is never early anywhere, ever. So I don't even know if he was like called in early or if he just showed up early or what. But he showed up, and so we actually worked that shift together, or like a couple hours of that shift together. And at the time, I was like casually dating someone else, and I wasn't really like looking necessarily because I was kind of casually with somebody who at this point I honestly don't remember his name. And but we had like a really fun shift and like we had a really good time. And so I don't remember who asked who for their number, but when we exchanged numbers, started to give me his, and he was like, it's, 805, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, 805? And he's like, oh yeah, like I just never changed it from when I moved. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm 805. And he's like, what? Okay, so small world. It turns out that we're both from Ventura County, California, right? I grew up in Moore Park and he grew up in Oxnard, which for those of you who don't know is like 15 minutes apart, right? So we're like, what in the world? So for those of you who don't know, I'm older than Joey by like a year in school, like 8 months or something like that. And so I graduated in 99, he graduated in 2000. So we were like at the same like time from the same place. And then I moved to Arizona in 99 to go to ASU, and I graduated in 2002, December 2002. And then he went to junior college first in Oxnard, and then he went to Arizona State starting in 2006. So again, we both are from Ventura County, California. We both went to ASU, but like we just like our paths always like never crossed. Like it was like totally a God thing that we weren't supposed to meet until we were supposed to meet, right? And so I got some in my eyes. Okay, so that was pretty cool. So we exchanged numbers like as friends or whatever, right? Whatever that is. And so I think he asked me, I'm trying to think what our first hangout was. Like he asked me out as friends to do something, right? Because he knew I like made it clear that I was dating somebody. And so we went out and we like hung out, and I don't think that was our Barnes and Noble date, but it was something. And so I left from our hangout as friends, and I got home, and all I could think about was him. And not the guy I was dating, but the guy, but him. And I'm like, I had so much more fun hanging out with this guy as a friend than I have like with whoever this guy was that I was dating at the time. So I don't remember this guy very well. And so I wrote him and I was like, hey, like it's over. And so then I wrote Joey like a text, and I said something along the lines of, just so you know, I'm single now. Cause like, I wanted him to know like I wasn't just like friend zoned if he didn't want me to be. And so I think he immediately wrote something back like, great, when are we going out? And that was like the beginning. And so our first date, he took me to, was that? Okay, well, the first date that I really remember, we went to a movie, some really stupid bad movie one time, and I think we went to Dave & Buster's. And then he took me to Barnes & Noble for our date, and that was actually our first kiss date, which is why I remember it so well, because he knows me very well, and bookstores mean a lot to me, and I also worked at Barnes & Noble. I've worked in a lot of places, you guys. And so we went to Barnes & Noble, and what was really cool about this date is we literally, like, both found a book we were interested in and, like, sat in the cafe and got a snack, and, like, we were both just reading, like, next to each other. And if we, like, found something we wanted to share or talk about, we did, but like we were able to like be together, but like it wasn't like entertaining. And like, for me, like this was like the world's best date, right? Like coffee, a book, and like not having to like entertain someone. So we walked out, and he kissed me for the first time in the Barnes & Noble parking lot at Tempe Marketplace. And like right as like we started kissing, there was like this like screeching car crash like 2 lanes over, right? So like, totally killed the moment, but all part of the story. So we dated for, gosh, again, I really don't remember the beginning of our story very well. Is that bad that I don't remember the beginning very well? And so I don't remember. We dated for, I don't know, like a month or so maybe. And then I started to kind of freak out. I got in my own head. That's what I do. And for those of you who don't know, this is my second marriage. And so I was a little bit on my guard about, being with someone significantly again and, getting so serious and really, really liking. Because like I said, like the people that I've been dating before were very casual and stuff. And I could tell with Joey that I was feeling much more than casual with him from the very beginning. And so I was like a little bit scared. And then I was like, I'm not sure if like, like we're really different people. Like we have some really similar things, but we're also very different. And so I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And I got in my head, and I think he's putting the baby down right now, so he's not here to like confirm, but I'm pretty darn sure I broke up with him via text message. Um, and I was like, it's over. It's just not right. I can't do this or something really bad, right? That's horrible. I know. It's horrible. Clearly, it has a happy ending. And I think he just wrote something like, okay, if that's what you want or something. And so I was like, all right. And then I think we both kind of just like went out with a couple people for like the next month. And then it was very clear to me at that point, though, that like I had screwed up and I had let a very good thing go, and that should not have happened. And so I think I wrote him back again. Like I don't pick up the phone, so I'm sure I texted him again or something, and I was like, we should hang out or we should talk or I don't know, something like that. And so this now is like the beginning of what I really remember. This was in the very beginning of November at this point. And so we made plans to go to a movie, and he took me to see the really god-awful movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats. Did anyone see that? If you saw that movie, drop like some sort of emoji in the comments, because it was such a horrible, horrible movie. Like, you should just know by the title, like, it's people staring at goats, and like that's legitimately what the movie's about. Like, it's not even like a euphemism for anything. Like, they're just people who stare at goats. And I'm not a George Clooney fan, so I couldn't even just like stare at George Clooney because I don't even really like George Clooney. Is that bad? And so, so we went to this really, really bad movie, and we like talked a lot, and that was the night that we like officially like got back together for like the rest of our lives. And so I was like, okay. And he was very clear, like, you're sure, right? Like, you're sure. And I'm like, no, I am. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that was my bad. I'm sorry. And so we got back together then, and then, like I said, I knew early on that what I felt for him was pretty strong, and I think that's probably part of the reason, like I said, that I freaked out a little bit. And so, and keep in mind, this is all also this time of my life was coming off of, like, this will be like my story next week, but I had recently, like within the last year, gotten out of inpatient treatment again for like the second time for my eating disorder. My self-harm was like, I was okay at this point, doing okay, but like I was like just newly in recovery from self-harm. And so I was dealing with a lot of, I'd left a past relationship. And so there was a lot of stuff that I was dealing with at the same time. And so to like, really open myself and trust again was a big deal, because not everyone, like my story, there's a lot to my story, and very few people know like the whole story, and he's one of them. And so, I think there's probably like, gosh, maybe actually two people. Actually, I think Joey and one other person is the only people who know, and I think she might be on here, I'll have to see, that literally know everything. And so it's a lot, and I really wasn't sure that someone really could be, this again goes into next week a little bit, but like with me and truly like accept me and all of my, like everything that I'd gone through. Like, because honestly, like I don't know, like if the positions were reversed, if I could so openly and freely. And the thing with Joey, my God, like I credit him a lot for honestly moving me from like that early stage of recovery into like the recovery that I'm in today. So Melissa, if you're watching, like a good man. But again, that'll be part of next week's story, because it's National Eating Disorders Awareness Week next week, and so I'll talk more about that. But anyway, so I knew I was falling for him, and I'm the kind of girl who like, I didn't want to ever not say something at the risk of like being embarrassed or it being too soon or whatever. Like I want people to know, like if I never see them again, like they knew what they needed to know from me. And so I think it was like the end of November, somewhere around Thanksgiving or something. And I think I wrote him a letter, because I'm a words girl. Again, I don't talk clearly. I do things in text. I write everything, you guys. And so, I wrote him and I told him that I was falling in love with him, and that I didn't need him to say it back because I knew it was really early, because again, we'd only been back together like 3 or 4 weeks. And I was like, I don't need you to say it back, but I need you to know this is what I'm feeling, and that this is real, and this is where I'm at. And he, like, keep in mind, like, I am like his first ever like serious relationship, which was also kind of a thing in my head. It was like, oh my gosh, like I'm your first serious relationship. Like, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you want? And so I gave him that letter, and he like acknowledged the letter, but like, he wasn't like gonna reciprocate at that time, because again, like Joey's not the kind of guy just to say something. Like if he says it, he means it and stuff, which I love about him, right? So Fast forward to I don't know when, because I'm really bad with these early dates, you guys. Like, it's really awful. I don't know when. I want to say it was like March, maybe March. Lori, if you're watching this one day, maybe you'll know. But I used to hike A Mountain all the time because Joey lived right next to A Mountain, and that was like my stress release. So I'd come home from work and I'd be like all flipped out, be like, I'm climbing the mountain, and he'd be like, not without me, you're not, and he'd like follow me up the mountain, and like I did that all the time, right? And so I was in really good shape then. So one of these days we were sitting on top of the mountain, like at the very, very top. And I don't know if you guys know, like, if you've ever been to A Mountain, like, you know, like the airplanes are always flying over and stuff, especially at night and stuff. And so we were sitting up there, and like it was just quiet, and we're just like watching what was happening. And all of a sudden he like turns to me and says something like, as a jet flies over, and I have no idea what he said, right? So I legitimately am like, what? You know, like totally not romantic in any way. And he like, you can tell he like doesn't want to repeat himself. Like that was like the moment, right? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I love you. And so I was like, oh, I do too. But that was the moment he first told me I love you, which is cool because we kind of have like a mountain theme in our relationship, because he told me he loved me on top of A Mountain, and fast forward, he proposed on top of Camelback Mountain. So we have like a mountain thing going. And so, and his thing for Camelback, I'll jump forward, is he said that he had to propose on Camelback because he had to go higher than, like, the I love you was like a low mountain, and like, you know, proposing is like higher, so we had to find a bigger mountain. So that's kind of sweet. So he also almost killed me that day. But anywho, so that was like March of like 2010 or whatever. And then we were together, and then I'll fast forward to like the other good stuff. And so we knew early on, like I wasn't looking to just casually date. I was really looking for, like, you know, who I was going to be with. And so we knew we were on the path to marriage. It was just kind of a matter of when. And then by early 2012, we knew we were getting close. We were kind of at the place where we were like waiting for to like kind of all the stars to align and everything. And my grandma actually passed away in the beginning of March of that year. And when I was at the hospital, like in those couple days before she did, she knew Joey and she loved Joey. It would be so cute because, like, you know, you guys, he works for the Cubs, right? And so she'd be like watching like the spring training games, and like somebody's like maybe like pants didn't fit or his shirt didn't fit right. And she'd be like, you tell that boyfriend of yours to, you know, get them a different uniform and stuff. But no, she really had a lot of respect for Joey, and she saw how good he was in my life, and she saw that I was doing so much better because he was in my life. You guys, surround yourself with positive people who make you better, because honestly, the people you surround yourselves with can make or break you in this world. Like, it's absolutely 100% true. And like, who you let influence you and who you let impact you and who you surround yourself with, like your tribe, means everything, right? And my grandma saw that. And so I knew she wasn't going to make it very long. And we didn't have like, you know, I wasn't proposed to yet, and we didn't have like a wedding date, but like we knew we were going to get married, and I didn't want her to pass without knowing that officially, that like I was taken care of and it was okay. And so like, oh, Emily, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. I really love it. And so she was unconscious, and there were a couple other people in the room, and I like didn't care. And I was like, Grandma, just so you know, like I am going to marry Joey. Like, we are going to get married. We are going to be a family. And so like I made sure she knew. And then like a couple days later, people were like, so about what you told Grandma. And I was like, nope, like I can't say more because like it's, you know, we're not talking about it until there's like officially a ring on the finger. But like she needed to know. And so they're like, we respect that. So he actually proposed on his birthday in April, which a lot of his friends say is cheating, because now he'll never forget what day he proposed, because, you know, a lot of times guys get like in trouble, like I do, like for not knowing the dates of things or whatever. And so like, obviously, hey, Lori. And so, you know, like everyone's like, that's cheating that you did it on your birthday, right? So we had made plans to hike Camelback, because I had never hiked Camelback. And, note to self, if you're gonna ever hike Camelback, bring more water than my boyfriend told me to bring. He's like, oh yeah, we just need this bottle. You guys, okay, what you don't know is my husband was born on Earth Day. Okay, and what you may or may not know is there are a lot of like hippie crazy people who climb Camelback Mountain on Earth Day. And so it was really crowded that day. I think it was a Saturday, I'm not sure. And so we climb, and there's like people with like guitars and banjos, and they're like doing like songs and dances to Mother Earth. And if that's your thing, like, you know, kudos to you, and stuff. But like, you know, if you don't know, again, like my husband is very, very private, and like, you know, I'm not into the whole like swishy tree thing. I don't know. And so we're up there, and at this point, like, okay, like, You guys don't even know this part yet. Oh my gosh. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so my sister was in law school at the time, and we knew we wanted to get married like that summer. So we didn't even have like, he hadn't proposed yet, but like we knew all the plans, right? So we knew we were going to be getting married soon, and my sister literally said, I can come to your wedding if it's June 30th. Because she had the bar like coming up in like July. She's like, that is literally like the only weekend. And so we actually already knew we would be getting married June 30th, even before he proposed. So like we knew this like back in like March, right? So like it's like March, the beginning of April, the middle of April. Like I'm getting married in June, but I can't tell anybody really. And like I can't do anything to plan because I'm not officially engaged. So like I'm sitting here going like, at some point he's going to. So like I knew, I literally knew it was coming because like the wedding was coming up, right? So like I kind of had a hunch that he might, but I didn't know officially, right? And so so we climbed the mountain and we're up there, and then we're like just like talking for like a really long time. Like we are out of water. It is like 1,000,000 degrees because that's what it is like in April here in Phoenix. And like then I'm like, well, maybe I misjudged it because like he's not asking me. And then it was like, well, then why the hell are we still on top of this mountain like right now? Because like we're still just like talking and stuff. And what I didn't know is he was waiting for the hippie crazy people to leave because he didn't want to propose in front of like 500 like crazy people with a guitar. And so finally, thank God, I might have died otherwise, they went down the mountain, and he's like, oh, I have something for you. And he like pulled the ring out of the backpack and proposed. And I said yes. And then because we were both literally like about to die from dehydration, we climbed down the mountain and went to the nearest Chili's and like started downing water like nobody's business. But that was our engagement story. And then, so that was April 22nd, 2012. And our wedding date was June 30th, 2012. And I remember telling people like, oh yeah, we're getting married in June. And they're like, oh, you got so much time to plan. I was like, oh no, like this June. And so we got married at the Luxor in Las Vegas. And it was amazing, you guys. It's so nice. Like there was no stress. Like they take care of everything, and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous and you don't have to worry about a thing. And so that was awesome. And then we had our reception at the Hard Rock Cafe afterwards, and it was amazing and perfect and wonderful. And then who is the magician at the Luxor? It's not David Copperfield. It's I don't know. Anybody know? Anybody know? Google. Okay. Whoever it is, we went to that show that night, right? Now my wedding dress was like a strapless like T-length dress, which is like it hits like right around your knee. And so I took off like the sash and things like that, but then I still had like this cute little A-line like wedding dress on, and he was still in his tux and stuff when we went to the show. So of course we got upgraded like from our seats, which was cool. And we were like, third or fourth row. And then like partway during the show, like again, Mind Freak, Chris Angel. Okay. Chris Angel, Mind Freak. He like stops in the middle of the show and he like looks at us and he's like, did you guys just get married? And we're like, yeah, like a couple hours ago. And he's like, bring them some shots. And like they did, And so then we finished the show, and we're getting ready to go back up to the hotel room and stuff like that. And then the fire alarm's going off in the Luxor. And we're like, what's happening right now? Like it's our wedding night, and like the fire alarm is going off in the casino. And like no one really seems to be that concerned that the fire alarm was going off at the casino. So like we're standing on a balcony like trying to decide like, do you go up to your room and like ignore it like the other hundreds of people you're looking at, or do you like trust the alarm and like leave the Luxor? Like what do you do? So we ended up back in the room. I guess we just deemed it was safe or something. We're still here today. And yeah, and then a couple days later, we left on our honeymoon for an Alaskan cruise, which is hilarious because now this is the beginning of July, right? Where here it's like 120 million degrees, and we literally like had to borrow people's like jackets and parkas and all of this stuff because it was freezing on this cruise, you guys. It was so cold, but it was the most amazing trip of our life. So anyone who's watching who's going on the CP cruise like tomorrow or whatever, like have so much fun. Cruises are awesome. Like it was great, right? And we brought home like the world's best souvenir, which is Ethan, because he is our honeymoon baby. And yeah, the rest is history. That was 2012, and it's 2018 now, so that'll be, do some math, 6 years of marriage this year, together for 9 years. Yeah, and that's our little love story. And so all started all because our shifts overlapped one time at Denny's. So I guess like the moral of our story before I go try and get some sleep would be you never know what your day is going to hold. You never know what simple, like inconsequentially seeming thing, inconsequentially, is that a word? I totally made it a word. What like inconsequentially things can like, turn into the really big things. And don't break up with the good guys because they may not always take you back, and I'm really lucky mine did. So that's my story. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I love you, and I hope you have a really good night. Bye.